Welfare cuts are inevitable because Congress won't touch Social Security. This might be one of the stupidest articles I've ever read in my life. Pablo agrees. Hold on. Come on, big boy. Come on. There he is. There he is. Oh, there he goes. Doot, 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 doot. Pablo. Doot, 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 doot. Pablo. Pablo, look at those teeth, dudes. Look at those teeth. Oh my goodness, Pablo. We call him Meth Pobs. He's definitely, how Denise calls him Stoner Pablo. We call him Meth Pablo. Look at those teeth. Pablo, we gotta get off the pipe, buddy. Oh, my other dog's barking. All right. So Reason Magazine has really done it again. This is so stupid. Eric Boehm. Until Congress is willing to acknowledge that it makes no sense to send monthly checks to wealthy seniors, everything else will be on the chopping block. Who's Eric Boehm? Jim Boeheim. Remember Jim Boeheim? His writings appeared there. He's been a guest on the Cato podcast, Libertarian Institute, ALEC. Let's see. All right. Curling is the closest to the Olympic. All right, whatever. He won second place. Sports commentary. All right. American. Anyway, whatever. He got a bachelor's degree in history and communications from Fairfield University in 2009. I don't know anything about Fairfield University. I think it's probably rich boy school. Let's take a look. Was Fairfield University on the list of schools that are still mandating the jabbies? Let's take a look because I just got this today. Let's see. Hold on just a second. Let me pause it real quick. But I can't find it. All right, that's all right. But anyway, I don't know anything about Fairfield University. I imagine it's Connecticut, and I imagine it's rich boy school. So, and from a rich boy school, we get ignorance on who graduated in 2009, ignorance on how Social Security works. It actually ticks me off because all right, it's so freaking stupid. All right, according to the Washington Post, the cuts would offer a wide range of federal safety programs like food stamps and Meals on Wheels that help needy families. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this thing right there. All right. Regardless of whether you think the federal government should be in the business of funding any of those things, there's no denying the fact that sudden cuts to existing welfare programs can be disruptive to individuals and families. Okay. All right. Here, budgeting is always at the core an exercise in priority setting. That's especially true when your budget is wildly out of whack and you've been borrowing at an unsustainable rate. Who says it's unsustainable? I mean, I've heard this for decades, and yet here we are, Eric Boeheim. Here we are. Who says it's unsustainable? With 34 trillion, oh, that's unsustainable. But 32 trillion was sustainable? Well, back then they were saying 25 trillion was unsustainable. No one knows. I actually got an email from a guy today on the email I sent out to my group. He's like, don't you know? We had the devils at Jekyll Island. They make inflation. If it wasn't for government spending, there'd be no inflation. You're like, what? What? If it wasn't for government spending, there'd be no inflation? What? Okay. Oh, my goodness. It's like, dude, I know you don't want to hear evidence of this. I get it. The evidence that government spending causes inflation is weak at best. That's not saying there isn't any. It's weak at best. There's no, if X happens, Y happens. There is no evidence of that at all. The M2 money supply, the money supply doubling in 5 years, which would be pretty significant M2 growth, doesn't lead to inflation like you think it does. It just does not. The evidence is overwhelming that it doesn't happen. That doesn't mean it can't happen. But the evidence isn't there that if we have a huge increase in money supply, we have huge inflation. That's just not there. And this is a mistake. This is like some clown emailed me today. All right, I'm done arguing with you. It's because it's silly. It's silly. The evidence isn't there. And I like to deal in reality, with real evidence. But anyway, let's go back to Eric Boeheim. Let's see. When there's no longer enough money to go around, again, who says that? You're faced with a difficult proposition. Who gets paid first? Who has to wait at the back of the line? In the federal government, seniors get paid first. Everybody else has to wait. Let's take a look. Over the next decade, discretionary spending is projected to decline relative to the size of the U.S. economy, according to CBO. Social Security and Medicare are growing. By 2030, the CBO expects mandatory spending on entitlement programs. These aren't, entitlement isn't the same thing as welfare, Eric Beheim. They expect mandatory spending on entitlement programs to consume more than 60% of the federal budget. Okay. Of course, because those programs are funded with a separate revenue stream, payroll taxes, it would be complicated for Congress to cut spending on Social Security to offset cuts in welfare programs. Even so, the ongoing refusal to consider any long-term changes in the two major entitlement programs tells you all you need to know about the priorities of Washington. There's no shortfalls of ideas. Let's see. We could make the retirement age higher. Yeah, that's what rich kids from Fairfield University want you to do. Change how contributions to disbursements work. It could allow younger Americans to opt out of the retirement system. It could means test Social Security. Social Security is already means tested, Eric. You know how it's already means tested? Because the max benefit you can get is about $3,600 a month. Bill Gates will get that max benefit, no more. The same what's the guy's name? Elon Musk. The max Social Security benefit is $3,600 a month. Free as your PIA. Now, if you wait till you're 70, it's about $4,400 a month. That's the max. All right, there, Eric, is already means tested. You don't get more than that. It doesn't matter how wealthy you are. And on top of that, it's means tested the second way too, with what's called bend points. The ignoramuses of these people is mind-boggling. The first, $1,100, you get 90% of your benefit, of your average index monthly earnings. The first $1,100. I'm not going to get into how you figure this out. Eric, you'll have to figure this out on your own because this is pretty simple once you know how to do it. If you took the time to figure this out, which you won't. The first $1,100 you get 90% of. The next, I want to say $5,500 you get 32% of. Anything above that you get 15% of. That's if that ain't means testing, I don't know what means testing is. The more you have for your average index monthly earnings, the less you get. It's just freaking so idiotic. Let's see. We could restrict payouts to wealthier retirees. The max payout right now, even with delayed earnings credits, is $4,400 a month. In much the same way that welfare programs already do. Social Security, Eric Beheim, is not a welfare program. It is entitlement. It's my money. I want my money. It's like J.D. Wentworth. It's my money, and I want it now. You're not living on welfare if you're on Social Security. That wouldn't save much money in the grand scheme of the federal budget, but it reflects the economic reality that older Americans are generally getting wealthier. It makes little sense for the federal government to continue transferring cash from younger working Americans to the wealthy retirees. Well, that's what Social Security has done. It's a Ponzi scheme. Everybody knows this. And you're okay. You want to say we're going to get rid of the Ponzi scheme? Then what are you going to do? Well, we're going to make sure the wealthy people don't get paid more. They're not getting paid more. Until some of these choices are right here. Until some of these choices are considered, the old age entitlement programs will continue to be primary drivers of federal government's fiscal problems. Are they? I mean, literally, everyone keeps saying there's fiscal problems. It's unsustainable. I've been hearing that for freaking decades. As entitlement, and I'd like to ask Eric, what do you think about NASA, Eric? You know, the NASA, the early years, NASA, the early years, the Nazis who took over the NASA program, Werner von Braun, a little member of the Nazi party. I'd like to see these guys at Reason Magazine. You want to cut the NASA budget? I bet you don't. Because space, man, I like Star Trek and it makes me, NASA is for adults like Disney is for children. But you want to cut that budget? More power to you, dude. I bet you won't, though. Well, we got to explore the asteroids, don't you know? Or are you right-wingers? You want to cut the military budget? I bet you don't. I would. 2 seconds flat. I said, man, you can get by with what you had last year. Everybody, you can get by with what you had last year. 100%. No increases for nothing. We can get by with what we had last year. Medicare, well, we can say that the problem with Medicare is the distribution or disbursements that we're paying to the doctors. You reduce the disbursements to doctors, you have less doctors in the system. That's just a fact, Jack. Now, we didn't really pay for our Medicare benefits, but we certainly pay for our Social Security benefits. That's just a fact. So Social Security is not touchable. There's no other way around that. You can say, well, we're not going to give you as much for the doctors to be in the Medicare system. Then you have less Medicare doctors, and there'll be less of the availability for seniors who need the doctors. That'd be stupid too. So let's see the cut the budget in places that aren't considered entitlements. Military comes to mind first and foremost. I mean, hell, the EPA, get rid of the EPA, get rid of the Department of Education 100%. I got no qualm with that. But right-wingers, of which I align with, they don't want to touch the military. They don't want to touch NASA. NASA is part of the DOD, by the way. I think, yeah, I'm most positive. But they want to touch everything else. And the libs, they don't want to touch anything else. They just want to touch the military. Such a freaking crock show, dude. It's all part of the cabal. All right, anyway, we'll be back in the same spot next year. And after that, at least until the early 2030s, when Social Security will hit insolvency and more significant decisions will have to be made. All right, so I want to show you some here. Because he made a mistake. Did he fix it? I think he did. Let's type in. Let's go F Medicaid. Because right here. McCarthy and his fellow Republicans are not proposing any cuts to Social Security and Medicaid. Medicaid isn't Medicare, Eric. Medicaid is for poor people. Medicaid is welfare. So you're boxing. This is just is so ignorant. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Medicaid is like SSI, Supplemental Security Income. That's not Social Security retirement benefits. That's for indigent people, impoverished people. The fact that you mix Social Medicare and Medicaid tells me you don't know what you're talking about. It might be a typo. I don't know, but you didn't do a good enough job. Like I would never type in that because I know what I'm talking about. The fact you didn't catch it or your editor just tells you don't know what you're talking about. Well, you're gonna say we can't cut welfare benefits because it put families in dire straits, but we're gonna cut it for Americans who paid into the system. Screw that, man. Anyway, it's so stupid. I want to share with you something here. It's from 1995, a Cato Institute, Social Security versus Private Markets by this guy William Shipman. Oh, he's a principal at SSGA. SSGA, State Street Global Advisors. Bad, not good people. I don't know who William Shipman is. I don't know. But I don't know if he's still around. But SSGA is Vanguard, BlackRock, and SSGA. They all run in the same groups. Well, rarefied air, and they're controlling the whole damn world. But it's interesting. This is from 1995. From Cato Institute. That's where Eric is part of Cato Institute. Now check this out. Unlike personal savings, all of which are stores of wealth, Social Security is a misguided political construct, whereas one's retirement benefits are depending on the willingness of future workers to be taxed. Benefits paid to present recipients are low. Benefits paid to future recipients will be lower. And yet, here's Eric from the Cato Institute, and 28 years later, saying we're paying too much benefits. It's so freaking stupid. Benefits paid to present recipients are low. Benefits paid to future recipients will be lower. Worse, the legal requirements to pay Social Security taxes prevents workers from investing the money lost these taxes in higher earning assets. Okay. Beyond that, the unsound financial foundation of the system virtually ensures that the promised benefits, low as they are, will be reduced even further. This is from 1995, 28 years ago. In the past, when Social Security financial precariousness was addressed, the legislative response was to increase taxes and reduce benefits. When did they ever reduce benefits? They never reduced benefits. They taxed benefits, but they didn't reduce benefits. Such responses are not only failed to solve the problem, they exasperated it. Exactly. So, because what? Let me show you something. If individuals born in 1970, that'd be old buddy Josh, were allowed to invest in the stocks the amount they currently pay in Social Security taxes, these individuals could receive nearly 6 times the benefits that are scheduled to receive under Social Security. As much as $11,729 a month? What, Bill Shipman? Wow! And there's an incentive for you because you were the SSGA. Shocking. Even a low-wage earner would receive nearly 3 times the return on Social Security. And then what happened in 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003? What happened in 2007 October to 2009 March? See, the Social Security benefit supporters are numerous, heterogeneous, I don't know what that is, vocal, and politically powerful. They do not want politicians to meddle with the system. However, Social Security is dangerously flawed and unsustainable in its current form. I'd like to fly back to 1998 or 1995 and say, hey, Bill Shipman, I'm from the future, 2023. What do you think happened to Social Security? Like your old boy Eric Boeheim said, what do you think happened to it? Oh, it went bankrupt, Josh. I had to. Yet it didn't. It's weird, isn't it? No, Josh, that's impossible. It had to. OASDI trust fund exhausted in 2030. We've heard this before too. We've had 2023, 2038, 2034, 2030. And remember, the exhaustedness, what does that mean? It means it's bankrupt, but it doesn't mean it can't pay the benefits. It just means it's not receiving enough from workers to pay into it. Oh, by the way, if we have higher wages, what does that mean for Social Security? Actually, I just talked to somebody today who was telling me they got to hire people at 15 and 18 bucks an hour. He says, that's tough. Well, your Social Security benefits, your tax that you got to pay is based on that 15, 18 bucks an hour. That's just a fact. Now, I actually think we're in the middle of a recession right now. I'm telling you, this anecdotal, but I hear layoffs all over the place, dude, all over the place. I know what my daughter had to go through to find a job in IT. I know what the retail sector is doing. I get people all the time. They're just, I'm talking to a guy here in about a half hour. He's looking like involuntary separation. It's like, whoa, your wife's leaving you? He goes, no, my job. And I'm like, it's happening. And that does put a strain on Social Security. The way you reduce that strain is to put more money into it. How do you do that? Well, I would say do a wealth tax. Do a wealth tax on people like Bill Shipman from SSGA. Tax the freaking foundations. Tax the freaking endowments. Tax these suckers, man. Get rid of all charitable contributions. Make the churches pay taxes. 100%. Say no more tax-free. No more subsidization. I mean, Frank, when you think about it, why should we subsidize a church of Satan, for instance? There's literally a church of Satan. They're a church. They're going to get subsidized. Why not just say, no, this is all dumb, man. If you can't survive without the tax benefits, then you're probably not doing something right. It's one big subsidy, one big scam, and we shouldn't allow it anymore because the only people who benefit, the vast majority of people who benefit are not poor, middle-class people who benefit for charitable giving. You know what it is? It's rich people. Rich people, they're stupid art collections, they're stupid endowments. Yes, they do benefit, give to some churches, I grant you. The vast, vast, vast majority of people who itemize in charitable deductions are not middle-class people. They're rich people. All right, you're going to say, oh my goodness, we're going to add an extra $10,000 a year to their taxable income. They'll be poor. Silly. Anyway, we've heard this story 1,000 times a Sunday. It's just so old. It's so old. At some point, it's going to be a broken clock, I grant you. When Eric Boeheim, when Bill Shipman, they've been arguing. Woo, someone just tooted. All right, let me get ready. Look at those teeth. Look at those things. Meth Pablo. All right, well, love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe to my locals channel. We go live every Wednesday. Went live last night. Had a lot of fun. $5 a month. It gets you on board, dude. It's in the Doobie Doo, my locals channel. Love to have you aboard. Every Wednesday, we go live. All right, we'll see you.